Hello. Hello. Sorry for the delay, guys. I'm so sorry for the delay. Due to some technical issues, the meeting was not able to start on time. Okay. I highly apologize for the inconvenience. So, thank you for waiting. I highly appreciate your patience. Okay. So, am I audible? Just confirm once I'm audible or not. Can anybody confirm if I'm audible or not? Let me just check the comments. Okay. So there will be a delay between the your comments or not. Okay. So let me introduce myself. My name is Vikas, and I'm mentor here at GeeksforGeeks, where we train students in MERN Stack technology. That means in web development, be it in offline and online mode, whether in both mode, because we are having centers at multiple locations like Hyderabad, Bangalore, Pune, and Noida itself, right? So, what is the agenda for today's session is MERN Stack, right? What is MERN Stack? What exactly is web development, right? So, before we move on to the MERN Stack, we should know what is web development. Okay, so we'll try to build that scenario that what is web development actually, why we require HTML, CSS, why we require JavaScript, why we require React. Okay, and we will try to uh, provide a roadmap. Okay, I'll especially try to provide you the roadmap which you can follow to become a web developer. You can call it a full stack developer. Okay, so before we start, I'll just share my screen and do let me know once my screen is visible. Okay. Okay, so welcome to this session. The first, as I have introduced myself, my name is Vikas. I'm mentor here at Geeks for Geeks. Okay, we train a student in the full stack department. Okay, so the first question that you should be asking yourself before we start with any session, before we start with any kind of tech, whether it's web, whether it's data science, whatever it is, you should ask what exactly it is. Okay, so I'll just not read PPT or kind of thing. I'll just directly jump onto the kind of pen tab that I usually use to get the understanding, give you the understanding what exactly we are dealing with today. Okay, so the first thing or the first question that everyone should ask, what is web? That everybody is going after web development, months, tech months, what exactly web is. So the simple definition that any student or any mentor or any candidate can give is what exactly web is according to you guys. Let's check the comment section what you guys thinks about the web. Okay, so web is basically the network of information, right? It's just a network of information roaming around. Okay, so it can be consumed by multiple format, be it an application, be it web page, be it image, be it audio, video, whatever it is. It is a data, right? That is revolving around the globe. You are consuming it, right? This is the web. Web is the network of information that is spreading around the world. So in what form in the monster technology we use this data is web page. Okay, so we will be dealing with web pages. Perfect. So what exactly this web page is, what actually the web development is. So before we jump onto the web development, before we jump onto the any tech stack or any technical term, I'll just give you the brief about a technical structure that is called client versus server. This is basically a architecture that we study before we move on to the HTML part, CSS part, or any web technology part. Okay, so what is client server architecture? So basically, for example, if you are currently interacting to a laptop or mobile screen, whatever the device you are using to view, watch this YouTube live. For example, I am using this laptop to go live on YouTube. Okay, this is my laptop. Okay, so whatever you are interacting to, okay, this will be considered as front end, or you can call it a client. But the information that we are consuming, for example, any website, any data that we are consuming, is not stored in this laptop. Okay, so if I search Geeks4Geeks in this laptop or browser, does the Geeks4Geeks or any website is stored in my laptop, in my local storage, that as I click on this button, google.com will be just popping up? No, there should be a process of the information that you are searching from that particular point to a request going to server giving us the response, and response is coming back to your client side. That means your front end part. So the front end part that you interact with is known as client. Okay, and there should be a server that store all the information that serves you. What is server exactly is a server that serves you, that provides something to you. Your laptop can be a server, your mobile phone can be a server, the nearest tower that you are connected to is a server. So server that serves you, that provides you some information. So the website that you are searching will be stored remotely. For example, GFG is remotely stored as here. When you make a request from client, that means from front end to this particular part of server that is called backend, there is a bridge. There should be a bridge. There should be a connection between those two. Okay. So if I dial some number to somebody, there should be a tower in between to work as a mediator, right? So when I dial some number, it get connected to nearest tower. From that tower, it got reflected, it got transferred to the location that I am connecting to. So that there should be a bridge between the front end part and the back end part. That bridge is known as APIs. That everybody is afraid of what is this API, what exactly this application programming interface. Okay, so this is not a kind of heavy term or heavy terminology that you should be afraid of. There's a simple bridge. API just work like a bridge between front end and back end. It receive your request, goes to server, receive response from server, comes back with your response. That is the exact working of API. Okay, so if you are thinking in that way that the API is something and a horror story in your life or in your career, that there should not be. Okay, API is very easy part. There's some endpoint on some links that is been URL based APIs is there. Just hit it. There will be information coming to at your kind of desktop or laptop, whatever the screen you are using to view it on. Okay, so this architecture or this system is known as client server architecture. This is client server architecture. Okay, so now after client server architecture, the second part you should be aware of, when you search a website. When I go on to the PPT's next part, I should be showing you. If I show you the component of web page, the next thing or the next agenda that I'm going to discuss is the component of web page. So the component of web page, here it is written the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's basically the story of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, we will try to discuss that. So, for example, let's take a kind of, consider this as your laptop. Okay, this is your laptop. When I search, there is a search bar. Okay, I search gfg.com. Okay, perfect. I have searched geeksforgeeks.com. So what happens next? The story, that agenda that I have shown you, that story of HTML, CSS, JS, this is the exact thing that I am going to show you, the operation or the dissection of the website from hitting the enter button to response that is being generated. Okay, so when you hit enter after typing geeksforgeeks.com, when you will be able to type Geeks4Geeks or search, there should be a criteria. The criteria is you should be connected to a internet, right? That means you should be connected to a internet service provider to get the result that you are searching, right? So when you are connected to internet service provider, it provides you a kind of device that you call as router. This is router, right? So this is the exact device that they provide, the router. So for example, when I hit geeksforgeeks.com, through this router, one request is generated. Let's discuss this REQ, that means request. Through this router will be directing your request through multiple layer of protection that you call a TCP layering. Okay, it will be go pass through multiple layer of security, and it will be connected to the nearest server that holds the geeksforgeeks.org. So do you think that Geeks4Geeks is stored in your laptop? Then you are thinking it a wrong way. Geeks4Geeks is not hosted, not stored in your laptop. It is stored or hosted to a nearest virtual server, right? Remote location it is hosted to. So through this router, that request will be going, okay, this request will be coming REQ here, and this server will be having Geeks4Geeks pages. One response from server will be coming with the similar path. Listen carefully. The similar path will be followed by the response as well. Let's define this as a RES. That means a response. So one response will be coming through this router to your web page or your screen. That is Geeks4Geeks. So now you'll be thinking that I hit the enter button. Geeks4Geeks is getting painted. Not, this is not that easy that you are thinking. Okay, there is a multiple process that goes behind the scene, from hitting enter button to get your website printed or painted. So when you search the enter button, when you hit the enter button, the request goes to server, one response comes to your device that you have searched upon. Okay, so what is the parameter, what are the data that comes through the server to your device? Whole website doesn't come directly at your service or disposal. It comes in chunks. What is chunks? That means pieces. So the website that you have searched, going through router, multiple TCP layer followed, and goes to server, one response in pieces comes through TCP protocols, and through router it is getting painted at your screen. How is this painted, and what are those pieces that comes? So first piece or first file that comes is HTML5. Okay, the first file that comes from the server, the first piece is called HTML5. The second piece is called CSS file. The third piece is called JavaScript file. Okay, so now you will be thinking, sir, three files has come up through the server. Now what to do? How we are going to, right? How we are going to make the website out of it? So when you go on to the next slide that I have prepared for you, is the how browser make recipe with those components. So what are those components? HTML file, CSS file, and JavaScript file, right? So now the browser's part start, the browser's role start from here. That means now it's browser's responsibility that it should make a recipe. In this case, the recipe is your website. That means Geeks4Geeks. So now browser's responsibility is that it should start making the recipe by combining those files. So how they combine? Let's see it. So that browser consists of three facility or three tools they have to process these files. The first one is HTML parser. The first tool that browser contains is HTML parser. The second tool is CSS parser. The third tool is JS engine. Now to compile those files, now to read those files, these three tools is given to browser. That means HTML file will be processed by HTML parser, CSS file will be processed by CSS parser, and JS file will be processed by JS engine. So how they process? So next term is what is parser. Parser is something that reads your document from top to bottom, right, and makes a notes of it. So when they encounter the first file, that means the HTML file, it start reading the document from top to bottom, line by line. And to remember the HTML file, it creates a tree like structure. Okay, so to remember those files or those the element and tags, it makes a tree like structure. So let's this structure that HTML parser makes to remember the file in named as DOM. Okay, now second file, this is the first file that we processed. Now the second file's chance comes. What is the second file, guys? CSS file. So when the CSS file goes to CSS parser, it also reads the document. And many of you will not be knowing this fact that CSS creates its own DOM. Its CSS has its own document object model, which names as, it will be creating a tree. Okay, it is known as CSS OM, CSS object model, right? So have first HTML file is got passed, second CSS file is got passed. Now you will be thinking why this JS file is not getting passed. Instead of parser, it is written engine. What engine do? Engine allow or controls all the component that is there in a car or on a structure. So JavaScript file doesn't get passed because JavaScript is an engine that provides the tools or platform to run those files. So JavaScript file or JavaScript events or any facility or functionality is directly get attached to those elements, and the functionality gets implemented. So that's why this JavaScript is not getting passed. Okay. So now you will be thinking that okay, HTML has got passed, CSS got passed. Now what? So now when those three are ready, they combine together. Okay, so now what we are dealing with, we are making a website. So HTML tree got prepared, CSS OM got prepared. Now those both tree, CSS OM and HTML DOM, combines together and make a resultant tree. So for example, I'm not making it exact, but to give you an idea, it should look like this. Okay, so for example, this tree is looking like this. This resultant tree is known as render tree. This resultant tree is known as render tree. What is this render tree? This render tree is the exact replica of the website that you have searched. Okay, so now for example, let's assume this is your screen of laptop screen. Now this render tree, after creation of this render tree, line by line, this element and this nodes will be start painting from top to bottom. So this process of printing those element and text line by line known as painting process, or you can call it a rendering. Okay, so that you call now ki website render ho gayi hai, the website has rendered, website is getting painted. Okay, this is the exact process of website that you are searching. From that point to the creation of three files, that means HTML file, CSS file and JavaScript file. From it comes to browser, make a recipe out of it, make a render tree by combining HTML DOM and CSS DOM, and this the render tree is getting painted. Okay, understood the painting process of the website that you are searching? Tell me, yes or no. Give me an idea that I given you, that you have understood or not the painting of a website from the searching, from the point of searching the website to the point the website is getting loaded onto your laptop or the screen that you are interacting to. Let me check the comment section. Type yes or no, whatever you feel like, that have you understood or not. Then I'll provide the structure or the kind of roadmap that you are looking for. Okay, okay, so now we talk about the roadmap, that why we learn this MERN stack and how we learn. Okay, so now you will be able to get the interest, right? Okay, this is how website is getting painted. right? This is the logic behind the website getting loaded. So when you start making the website, there should be a process of it. What is the process? What are the factors that goes in the first part of a website? Then there are three major component that goes in a website. The first component is front end. That means UI part, the interactive UI that look you interact to na buttons, component, navbar, whatever it is. This is called front end. The second one is backend. That means that you cannot interact. That is called servers that you interact through. That means you cannot see the server real time, but you can see the UI in real time. Okay, the front end, backend, and the third, the underrated component is database. That means the data you store, the data you deal with, that comes in this particular DVMS. That means database management system. It can be a SQL type, it can be a no SQL type, it can be a relational database, whatever it is you are dealing with. In this web technology, we usually deal with MongoDB. Okay, MongoDB. So now you will be thinking these are the three basic components. Yes, but the fourth component is also there, that called scalability and maintainability. Scalability and maintainability. That is also the important part, as those three are. Okay, so when you want to be a web developer or a full stack web developer, you should be knowing those four things. First one is front end technologies, back end technology, database technologies, and the scalability and maintainability of a website. Okay, so now I'll provide you the what exactly you should be learning in front end or back end and the database that currently we are dealing with. First, we talk about front end. When it comes to front end, there are first start with HTML. Okay, that means it is used for structure purpose, structure of a website. Okay, then structure is not enough to make it attractive. Okay, for example, if you are going onto the railway ticket booking website, okay, or if you are going onto the Paytm, the difference is clear. That means as compared to the railway website, the Paytm website is more interactive. That means if the website is not interactive or attractive while looking, the button is not the right place, the color is not, theme is not correct, okay, information is not proper where it should be, the interactivity decreases, interest decreases, right? So to make it more attractive, you should be designing part colors, addition of colors that comes with styling. So you will be using CSS for styling. Okay, so when CSS is not enough, okay, so after CSS you can learn Bootstrap, or you can use Tailwind. These are the preprocessors. That means the cheat code of CSS, that you can write the direct class name, a property will be applicable. Understood? Tailwind CSS you can be learning, or you can learn any other UI component library like Material UI, Chakra UI, Daisy UI, whatever UI, any UI component library you can be using. Okay, UI live, I will be saying this UI live. Okay, that is the CSS part. Now the structure is ready and the styling is ready. Now if I have made the button using structure and the style is given, beautiful color, beautiful animation, but when I'm clicking on this button, nothing is happening. So what is the use of this button? No use. So to add the interactivity in the website, that means when I click on one website, something should happen, right? Something unique should happen, some response should be coming from the website, that if I click book now, the pop-up should come that booking is confirmed or booking is failed, booking is in progress, whatever it is, response should be coming, right? So to make it interactive, we will be using JavaScript. Okay, so this is the most important factor of deciding factor, you can call it, of the web development. If you are not aware of this JavaScript, you will not be able to work on web development. I will be speaking frankly or honestly, right? So the most important part is JavaScript. Okay, I'll discuss the JavaScript in later part, don't worry. Now comes till this part. If you have done, you will be able to make front ends, right? Now if you are comfortable with JavaScript, you should be able to make backend as well. So in backend part, second part is backend, where logic happens, right? So in backend, you will be again using JavaScript as a scripting language, but in as a server side routing or server side scripting. I will be telling what is scripting. Okay, so you will be using on the server side. JavaScript को भी हम server side में use करेंगे. We will be using it on the server side. So the first thing that you should be learning is Node.js in backend. Second one is Express.js. This is the tool to make servers or APIs. Okay, these are the kind of common two technology that you will be able to if you are able to conquer that particular two tech stack, Node and Express, you will be able to handle the servers and the APIs and the back end of the website. Now third part is data, that when you are making an e-commerce, for example, you will be dealing in data, consumers, the data that you are getting or fetching or giving, the data will be manipulated or managed by DBMS. In this case, we will be using MongoDB. And to operate on MongoDB, we will be using Mongoose as a driver. What are the driver? Driver means that runs your MongoDB. Through this Mongoose, we will be operating on MongoDB. Okay, so this is the exact roadmap that you should be following if you want to be a full stack dev. Now, fourth part, as I already told, is scalability and maintainability. So for example, you will be able to make website for 10 people. If 10 request is coming at 1 second, you will be able to handle. But what happens when your application is on large scale? That means 1 million user, 1000 user is hitting request per minute. So for that, you will be able to make kind of server more efficient. We will be using global state managements, Redux, context API, whatever. So this maintainability and scalability is the part of the website development. So what website making is easy, but to maintain it, to make it efficient enough to on the large scale operation is the hardest task. It is the hardest task that a developer face. So in this part, you will be using state management. You will be using delay decreasation, what how to make a website more efficient. For example, if one user is clicking on a button, after 5 seconds it is reloading your website, is loading the content. So how to decrease this 5 second timer to 1 second or 1 millisecond. Okay, so this is the part of maintainability and the scalability of the website. Okay, but before we go on to the scalability and maintainability, at least you should be aware of those technologies: HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, Tailwind, and JavaScript, most important than Node, Express. Then you will be jumping onto the MongoDB. Now you will be thinking, okay, so now what is this MERN stack? Okay, so this MERN stack is, let me just write it as a MERN stack. So this M is MongoDB, that means database that I already talked about. This Express is for making server, E for Express. This is for server. N is for node. That means environment to create, operate on this servers and the APIs. What is this R? This is React. This is the library or framework of a JavaScript. Okay, that makes UI making easy. Now you will be making this React.js. You will be using this React.js to make our components or the UI part, right? So this is the MERN stack technology. So to learn this React.js, Express, MongoDB, and Node.js, you should be learning JavaScript first. So the next topic is, what is this JavaScript? What is JS? Question mark. Can anybody tell me what is this JS, or should I go ahead with this content? Let me check the comment section. Okay, let me just give you the brief. Okay, JavaScript is a kind of logic heavy language. It's just a programming language or a scripting language or a kind of extension language, extend language that provides a facility or functionality to talk to the website. Okay, the simplest definition that JavaScript can have is it's an interactive programming language that allow us that extend a facility or functionality to get the interaction done between the website and the client. Okay, but the website that is interacting through JavaScript, that JavaScript has a specific definition which consists of three terms. What are those terms? The first term is single threaded. Second term is asynchronous. Sorry, synchronous. SYNC, synchronous. And the third part, the most important part that you call it the single threaded asynchronous programming, is dynamically typed. Dynamically typed. Now, these three terms will decide the definition of the JavaScript. What is single threaded? For example, if you talk about a definition of JavaScript, it will be coming like JavaScript is a programming language which is single threadedly synchronous in nature, that is dynamically typed in nature as well, that performs few logic that allow users to interact with the website, right? This is a basic definition. So what is single threaded or single thread? Single thread means, for example, if I have two hands, I can do two tasks at a time. For example, I am using this pen tab to write by one hand. I can just move this cursor using the left hand. So if I have two hands, I can do two tasks at a time. But JavaScript doesn't possess this capability. JavaScript is only having one hand. That means JavaScript can perform only one task at a time. That's why it is a single threaded. Okay. So single threaded does mean that you will be operating on one task at a time. That means single task at a time. Now, the second definition comes synchronous in nature. Synchronous, what is synchronous? That means line by line. It will not be breaking the flow of execution. Flow of execution. Okay. Synchronous does mean if the 10 lines is written, so line 1 will be processed first, then 2, then 3, then in this nature, at the end, line 10 will be processed. So this is single threaded synchronous. That means single task at a time and the flow of execution will be remain similar. That means from top to bottom, left to right. Okay, this is the flow of JavaScript parser and compiling. Top to bottom, left to right. So it will not be breaking the flow. Now you will be thinking, sir, you are telling that we can only perform one task at a time and we can perform those tasks synchronously only. So how JavaScript is able to perform multitask and how it behaves like a multi-thread, right? Using few kind of terminology that you will be reading is called asynchronous nature of JavaScript. That means async, await, promises, callbacks, right? These are the few terms that is the separate from this synchronous part, that is ES6 part that is being covered as you will be growing in the JavaScript. You will be learning the asynchronous nature of JavaScript, where you will be dealing with async, await, promises, callbacks, right? These are the few terminology that allow your JavaScript to transition from single threaded and synchronous to multi-thread and asynchronous. So now then you will be able to perform multiple tasks at a time. Okay, so now comes the third definition, that is dynamically typed. So when, if you are aware of any programming language that for example C++, for example, if I want to write my name, that is Vikas, so in any programming language I have to define the data type, right? I have to define the data type, that it is of integer type, it is of string type, it is of character type, it is of float type, whatever it is. But in dynamically type in JavaScript, this provides you the flexibility that the data type will be decided at runtime. That means when your program will be receiving the memory, that is memory allocation phase, it will be decided that whether it's a string, whether it's a number, whether it's a float, whether it's a character, whether it's a object, whether it's an array, whatever it is, it will be decided at the runtime. That means at a memory allocation. So JavaScript allow you to type whatever it is in the similar manner. It will be decided that what kind of data you are dealing with at the runtime. Okay, so this is the basic definition of JavaScript, that is a single threaded, synchronous in nature, dynamically typed or loosely typed, you can call it, language. Understood that what exactly is the JavaScript and why we are kind of learning this. So when you will be able to understand those concepts, callback, promises, async, await, API handling, event handlers, event delegation, there are multiple concepts of JavaScript. Then you will be realizing that every framework or every library that you are using or you will be using will be coming with the extension of JS, whether it's Angular JS, whether it's Next.js, whether it's Thread.js, whatever it is a .react.js extension, right? That is the parent of every framework and library that is coming for the UI building or any functionality is the JavaScript parent. JavaScript is the main parent that is source of all those framework and the library that you are dealing with. In this case, MERN Stack technology, you will be using Express.js, Node.js, and React.js. Okay, so now you will be thinking that, sir, you are saying that browser only understand the HTML file, CSS file, and JavaScript file. Okay, perfect. But in React, we use JSX, right? If you are aware of it, if you are not aware, don't worry. I'll just tell you that in React, you write HTML as a JSX, right? Is a kind of JavaScript kind of extension, you can call it, or kind of notation that allow you to write HTML or element in the kind of React or JavaScript file. So how browser understand that this is the HTML, this is CSS, this is JavaScript file? So there is a tool or there is a platform named as Babel Transpiler. Through this Babel Transpiler, this JSX, when it goes through Babel Transpiler, it is spread into three files, that is HTML, CSS, and JS. Now your browser will be able to understand those concept of HTML, CSS, and JS. Now, what will happen? As I already told you, one HTML tree will be created, one CSS OM will be created, both tree will be combined together, makes a render tree, and this render tree will be getting painted on your website. It is easier that it is, right? Understood the flow, the documentation, the kind of execution of JavaScript, how it is happen, how your website get painted, right? Now you will be thinking, I got to know what is the technology, how to learn it. Now, the last question that it arises, the question, where to learn it? From where you will be using the sources to learn. Then comes the Geeks4Geeks platform. Okay, so the Geeks4Geeks platform provide you the classroom program as well, the online platform as well, to get the understanding done. So I believe each and every tech student have watched the Sandeep sir's DSSL page, right? It's a go-to resources for any DSA appearing student. So like these, for the full stack, whether it's data science, JBDL, Java backend, data science, software testing, DevOps, whatever technology you are interested in, is that there are two-part type of training that happens in Geeks4. One is classroom program, second one is online training. If you are not near the center, like in Hyderabad, Pune, Bangalore, or in Noida, so you can opt for online trainings. And if you are in closest to the center, you can opt for offline training as well. What is the difference between online and offline? You are aware of it, that in offline training you are well equipped with the mentor, that mentor is coming on the center, interacting with you one on one, you can ask doubt. Same goes with online, but it's completely up to your selection, that what you are opting and what is the most efficient way to learn for you. Okay, so now why we learn on Geeks4Geeks, you will be thinking, oh, so nowadays when a student enroll for a particular program, what happens? Until unless HTML going, CSS is working, is student is having interest, that everything is easy, web development is easy, but it is not. I am doing web development from last 6 years, from my BTech journey to this corporate journey and the software journey. I am doing web development from couple of 5 to 6 years around it, right? So I have found that, and I have been training the student from last couple of years. So I have observed that till the time they are dealing with static pages or HTML, CSS, they found it very interesting, very, because it is easy. When they jump onto the JavaScript, They start getting confused. Okay, now this is the logic. Okay, when they encounter JS, they start ignoring the web deployment. Okay, mere se nahi hoga, I can't do it. I'll try some other domain. This is what it happens, right? So for that purpose, to give you the reward, for example, if any student out of, for example, 10 students have enrolled, out of those, 5 students have completed the course. So there is a separation between, obviously, the first 5 students have done brilliant. They have put in the effort, right? So to reward them, there's a challenge that is going on, is called 390. Okay. So I'll just show you what exactly the 390 is. Okay, this is the 390 that I am talking about. This is a challenge that Geeks4Geeks is running, that if you are able to complete your 90% course within the 90 days and having the attendance of 90%. Let me repeat it. If you are able to complete your 90% course with having 90% of attendance within the 90 days, your 90% money that you have given us will be refunded back to you. So this is a kind of reward system. If students are able to do it, able to achieve those criteria, we will be rewarding them. Geeks4Geeks will be rewarding them as a kind of token of gratitude that you are dedicated enough, apart from those students that have not completed the course at least, okay, or the training. So to reward you, this 390 is given. And if you, between those 24 hours of this session, if you are enrolling in this any program, use this particular kind of coupon code to get the 30% off apart from the 390. Okay, so if you are having any interest to enroll in this program, you can use this coupon code. Okay, so you will be getting flat 30% off. Okay, apart from 30% off, if you are able to cover those curriculum within the 90 days, having 90% of attendance, your 90% money will be refunded back to you. Okay, understood? Now I believe I have covered all the things that need to be covered before you start with the web development. Now I am open for the doubt. If you are having any queries, we can have them. Otherwise, we'll be wrapping up this session. If you are not having any doubt, we can wrap up this session. If you are having any doubt regarding this roadmap, what we have discussed, you guys can ask. Okay. I'll just wait for 2 more minutes, then I'll just end this stream. Okay. You guys have the flexibility or leverage to ask. Okay, no doubts. Then I'll just wrap up this session. Thank you guys for joining, and all the best for your learning curvature that you are planning ahead with the Geeks4Geeks or the web development journey that you are about to start after this session. Okay. Thank you. All the best.